everyone. Welcome to the McAuley Kitchen. Tonight we will be preparing linguine and clams, or linguine con vongole, as it's known in some parts of the planet. It's actually quite simple, but delicious nevertheless. We will be starting off with sauteing 6 medium cloves of garlic in some butter and olive oil, 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We'll be sauteing the garlic until it's golden brown, and it gets a little sticky, and that's perfect. We will be adding the spices, half a teaspoon of basil, half a teaspoon of oregano, and half a teaspoon of pepper, finely ground pepper. Once that is sort of incorporated into the garlic mixture, we will add 2 teaspoons of flour and mix that in to make a kind of a beginning of a sauce. Then we will go on to add our liquids, which consists of half a cup of dry white wine. In this case, we're going to use a Sauvignon Blanc. Then 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice, 8 ounces of clam juice, plus the liquid from 2 6.5 ounce cans of minced clams, and we'll be reserving the minced clams for later to add at the end. This is about maybe a little less than half a pound of andouille sausage, sliced into little roundlets, and then we have about a pound of savory clams. Manila clams are also very good. Really doesn't matter, but so that's kind of the general, and then we will of course be topping linguine with that. And this is kind of the bargain basement linguine, but I would recommend getting the best you can, or even fresh linguine if you're so inclined, but get the good stuff because it really does make a difference. But tonight we're on a budget, so we're going to do it this way. So we will start momentarily. Welcome back to the McAuley Kitchen. We're now at the stove area. One thing you want to do is get your water boiling beforehand, so it's going to be ready, and use a lot of water, more water than you think. Use the biggest pot you can. We are now going to saute the garlic, so we want a couple of tablespoons of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of butter. And we'll melt that a little bit. And our minced or pressed garlic. That's another thing, get yourself a garlic press if you don't have one. Now I've got this kind of hot just to start it off, but you want that to definitely go down. You want to saute it very gently, because you do not want to burn garlic. So we will saute this for probably about, it sort of depends, about 6 or 7 minutes maybe, but it could depend on how high you saute it. So we'll let that go for a few minutes and be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. The garlic is now looking really nice. I think I mentioned earlier golden brown, but it's probably not quite golden brown as you might think. It's not like toast or anything. You want it more straw colored. How about that? Kind of straw colored. It starts to get a little sticky, and that's perfect. So now what we're going to do is add our spices just briefly. Kind of incorporate those in. Alright, and once you got that pretty well mixed up, now we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of flour. And the flour is just going to give you a little bit of body to the clam sauce. You don't want it gummy or any thick. You don't want anything like that. You just want just something to cling to the pasta. That's really what you're looking for. And once the flour is thoroughly dissolved in the butter and oil and garlic mixture, we will now add our liquids. So a half a cup of dry wine, in this case Sauvignon Blanc. You can raise the fire at this point in time to kind of a medium high. We have our 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. We are going to add our clam juice now, so 8 ounces of clam juice plus the liquid from the minced clams. And I've got the lids, you'll see there. That's why the clams are not falling out of the can. Okay, so we've got the fire up a little bit. We're going to let that cook a little bit, kind of to thicken up. And while we do that, we'll make sure our pasta water is ready, and soon we'll be adding the pasta to the water, and the attempt will be to get everything to gel at the perfect time so that once this is close, we will add our clams and our andouille sausage, and the pasta will be done al dente at the perfect time, and it will all come together in a wonderful, glorious flash. Be back in a minute. Alright, welcome back. The clam sauce is getting close. It's kind of to taste, but I want to leave a little time for it while we're gonna cook the pasta. This will still cook down more. You want it to get kind of a mild boil going and thickening up. So in the meantime, we will now start our pasta. The water we've put in about a tablespoon or so of salt. It adds a little flavor. And so I'm now going to cook a pound of linguine in here. And when you add your salt, you want to be careful. If your water is boiling, actively boiling, the salt can really, it's like a volcano. It can definitely boil over on you. So just be careful. Start a little bit at a time until you know it's going to be safe, and then you can add the rest of the salt. So I'm going to I kind of separate these as I add them, so you don't get those chunks, clumps of pasta stuck together. And that's going to do it. So just kind of help those guys in the water a little bit. And I want to start a timer. This takes about 9 or 10 minutes to get al dente. And you want to make sure that doesn't go too far, because then you get that kind of gummy, soft pasta. You want it al dente, to the tooth. So we will now stir that occasionally, that pasta occasionally, but we're going to get that done, and we will be back to do the clams momentarily. Okay, hi everybody, we're back. The pasta is probably about halfway through now. You want to stir it occasionally so it doesn't stick to the pan. It's looking good. So we're now, there's maybe 5 minutes or so left. It's kind of a, it's always a little hit and miss. But we're going to add the clams now. We're going to make sure the fire is going pretty well here. So, and you can see that this, hopefully maybe you can see that the sauce has thickened up considerably. So it's not, it's a stiff, thick, floury sauce, but it just has some nice body. So we're going to add our clams and our andouille sausage. The sausage is already pre-cooked, so it really only needs to be warmed, essentially warmed through, and maybe give off some of the juices to the sauce for some added flavor. Now I should add that the andouille sausage, this is a variation that I actually learned from Salty's in West Seattle. So you don't actually need to do it that way. You can do it with, and you can even do it without the clams, but we kind of like it this way, and it's a nice variation. And we'll show you there's also some Beecher's cheese to be added later. So you want to get this. Get this up to a boil and cover it so that the clams will steam, and just till they open. And once they're open, they're good to go, and everything's good. And we will be adding our minced clams at the very end because they don't need to be cooked. They just need to be warmed as well, and you don't want to cook them and get them tough and hard. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back. Things are really starting to come together quickly, so you got to act quickly. The pasta is just perfect. It's nice. I don't know if you can see that. It's al dente. I'm going to turn that off. Let's look at the clams really quickly now. Look at that. Absolutely fantabulous. They're looking like they're all opened. If any don't open, you discard them. So we'll hold off on that. I'm going to momentarily here drain the pasta. I like to reserve some of the pasta water. Oh, there's our timer. That was just a backup for the pasta to make sure we didn't overcook the pasta, but pasta's already done, so we don't need that. Also, some people would frown upon this, but I'm going to add some butter to the pasta to keep it from sticking together. There's also some flavor in that butter too, by the way. But to keep the pasta from sticking, it makes it easier to serve, and we tend to like to serve buffet style here at the McAuley Kitchen. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to melt some butter in here. It's just butter to taste. Add some of that hot liquid in there. Helps. It helps to melt the butter. Just stir that around a little bit. Get that butter coating the pasta. And if you need to, you can add a little bit more. Usually doesn't take that's a half a cup or so, but it usually doesn't take that much. Okay, so that's good. So now the pasta's fine. We will cap that, keep that warm, and get back to our clams now. And they are looking good. So now we will just add our minced clams to this mixture. And as I said, you know, if you make this, you don't need the fresh clams, and this is fine. These are fine amounts without the fresh clams. There's plenty of clams, so you could, you know, if you're using fresh clams like this, you could probably get away with 1 can of minced clams, but you know, it is clam sauce, so I don't think you want to scrimp on the clams. So it's all looking good, and I think we're ready to serve it up to the table. Okay, welcome back to the buffet area. We're ready to serve up. So we now have our linguine al dente. So we'll put a little helping of that on a plate. And come over to our clam sauce, linguine con vongole. And put a little bit, boy, you can smell that andouille. Smells delicious. Get some of that, get some of the sauce. Make sure you get a little of everything. One for good measure. And we will top it off with a little Beecher's cheese. Beecher's, what do they call it? The standard, the famous, the regular stuff. Old-fashioned? There's a name for it. It's the regular Beecher's stuff. So we'll get a little helping of that. And then that's it. Linguine con vongole. Bon appetit.